Delicious autumn! My very soul is wedded to it. And if I were a bird, I would fly above the earth, seeking the successive autumns. Hello, friends and fellow bibliophiles. Welcome back to Kat's Novel Adventures. Autumn. What a terrific time of the year. That quote by the English novelist and poet George Eliot really captures my sentiments for the season. I love the fall season. It is my favorite time of the year. And in this video, I want to share some of my autumn plans with you. Fall has officially started and I couldn't be more delighted. As I mentioned in my channel chat, I am participating in Fall Bookish Bingo hosted by Sarah at Sarah Reads on Instagram. It started on September the 1st and will end on October 31st. I'm currently reading Livid by Patricia Cornwell. This is the 26th book in the K. Scarpetta series. I am not only reading it for the thriller prompt for Fall Bookish Bingo, but I'm also reading it for the thriller prompt on Series September. Now there's some other books that I would like to read for Series September, and they are Garlic and the Witch by Bree Paulson. This will count for the romance prompt because I love Garlic and the Vampire so much, I wanted to try out the second one. And then for the mystery prompt, I'm reading The Secret of Shadow Ranch by Carolyn Keene. This is the 5th book in the Nancy Drew series. And then for the horror prompt, I'm reading The Angel of Indian Lake by Stephen Graham Jones. This is the 3rd book in the trilogy, and I'm very excited to finally get to it because I really need to know what happens next in Jade's life. Now, don't be surprised if you see any of these books also on my Fall Bookish Bingo board. I finished Autumn from the Heart of the Home by Susan Branch. Such a cozy book. In fact, this is the book that I found that wonderful quote by George Eliot. This was the September selection for the Cozy Cottage Book Club. We had a wonderful book club discussion about all the activities in it. And afterwards, we watched a sweet Hallmark movie, and we just had a really delightful time. It is also counting for the nonfiction prompt on my Fall Bookish Bingo board. There are quite a few recipes that I would like to make or I want my hubby to make during the fall season. And some of them include corn pudding, bourbon mashed sweet potatoes, Indiana ham and sweet potato soup, scallops, mashed potatoes, and corn chowder, as well as cranberry apple crisp. Yummy in my tummy. October is one of my favorite months of the year because we celebrate one of my favorite holidays, which is Halloween. I adore the spooky season. And at the beginning of September, I received this postcard, a vintage Halloween bucket list from Lindsay and Jonas, the sweet couple at It's a Charmin' Life. They live in Sleepy Hollow, New York. I know I've mentioned them on my channel before. They're the ones that host the Cozy Cottage Book Club. Normally, I will participate in some of the activities on their autumn bucket list, but I'm thinking I could also incorporate some of these activities from this vintage Halloween bucket list. The activities include a ghostly graveyard, magical moonlight, spooky stories, party tricks, monster mash, haunted house, trick or treat, hocus pocus, creepy costumes, and jack-o'-lantern jamboree. Now, if you love the fall and you love the spooky season, or any season of the year, I highly recommend that you check out their channel. They are super sweet and they have really cozy videos. Jonas is also an artist and a professional pumpkin carver. His pumpkins are phenomenal. Now one day I would love to visit Sleepy Hollow. It is on my bucket list and I especially like to visit during the spooky season. Talking about the spooky season, what am I planning on reading for the month of October? Well, I am participating in 4 readathons. I know, it seems like a lot, but hear me out. Everything that I'm planning on reading during October is going to count in some way for these readathons. I am mood reading primarily. I do have a few books picked out that I want to get to, but I will mostly be mood reading, and I assure you that I will be meeting some of the prompts in each of these readathons. With that being said, all 4 readathons are month long, and they are hosted by some amazing booktubers. The first readathon is Halloween-A-Thon, which was created by Kelsi at Slime and Slashers. This is the first year for this epic event that has something for everyone who loves the fall and the spooky season. There are reading prompts, watching prompts, as well as activity prompts. It started on the first day of fall, September the 22nd, and ends on October the 31st. It is hosted by Kelsi at Slime and Slashers, Cameron at Library Macabre, Katrina at Katrina Brown, Lauren at Happy Haunts Library, and Kitty at Spicy Cats Reads. I'm part of the Monster Squad along with some incredible peeps in the BookTube and Instagram community. The beauty of this spectacular event is that you get to tailor Halloween-A-Thon how you want it to be. Yes, you get to determine how you want to spend your Halloween-A-Thon, because Kelsi has lots of printables that includes a game board, bingo boards, tons of prompts for every type of reader, host recommendations, Monster Squad recommendations, Instagram photo prompts, sprints, watch parties, merch, and so much more. I am going to leave a link to Kelsi's announcement video as well as to a Discord, so please check them both out. I will be mood reading, but I'm also going to be watching lots of horror movies. So why not join in the fun and become a pumpkinhead and join in Halloween-A-Thon? The second readathon is Hallowtween. This is hosted by my friend Stormi at Storm Reads and Beth at Soul Stained Ink. This is the second year that I am participating in this readathon. You know how much I love middle grade books and picture books. There are only 2 prompts. There's Trick for spookier books and Treat for sweeter Halloween vibey books that are not too spooky. And this year, Stormi has merch. So if you like to get yourself some merchandise, check out her shop. I think that's pretty cool that she added that this year. But I have chosen a few books that I am planning to read for Hallowtween. And for the trick prompt, I am reading Last Laugh by Kara Alexander. I'll be buddy reading this with my friend Liz at Cultural Cobwebs. I'm also planning to read Scritch Scratch with my friend Kaylin. I saw that she had that on her Goodreads, and I know that Stormi really loves this book by Lindsay Curry, so I'm glad I'm having the opportunity to finally get into it. Now, as far as Treat, I've decided that I'm reading a series called Tales from the House of Bunnicula, and the first book is called It Came from Beneath the Bed. This is by James Howe, and it is a series of stories written by Howie, the little puppy that is adopted in the Bunnicula series by the Monroe family. So I'm really excited to get to this because I absolutely adore the Bunnicula series, and I think these are going to be a good time as well. And then I also have a book on my list that could be considered either trick or treat, depending on how scary you think these books are. And it's a Goosebumps book, and it is The Scarecrow Walks at Midnight by R.L. Stine. I really love Goosebumps books, and I think it's going to be a fun time. And I'm also excited about getting to this one this year because it was on my TBR last year, and I did not have enough time to read it. So very excited. And I want to give you some recommendations of other middle grade books that I think that you might enjoy if you are participating in Hallowtween. For the trick prompt, I would recommend Hide and Seeker by Dacre Herman, Very, very good. Very spooky. I would also recommend The Witches by Roald Dahl, another excellent book. And I do believe there is a movie based on this book. And then Small Spaces by Catherine Arden. I really, really love this book. It is my favorite of the series. But if you end up reading Small Spaces, all the other books, the other 3 books, take place in the other 3 seasons of the year. So Dead Voices takes place in winter, Dark Waters takes place in the spring, and Empty Smiles takes place in the summer. But really terrific series in my opinion. But again, this is my favorite one and very fall vibes, spooky. I love it. And now for treat, I would recommend the Bunnicula series by James Howe. Now the first book is by James and Deborah Howe. Unfortunately, Deborah Howe passed away and was not able to write the other books with James Howe. It is a sweet, sweet story. There's some spooky vibes in it, but there's also a lot of heart in the series as well. But if all you do is pick up Bunnicula, I think you'll still have a great time. And then Garlic and the Vampire. This is the first book by Brie Paulson, and I don't think you can go wrong with picking this up if you want a treat during Hallowtween. And then the last book I want to recommend is The Power of Poppy Pendle. This is by Natasha Lowe. Really love this book. Poppy is just precious, and there are also some recipes in the back of the book. And as far as picture books go, I don't have any picked out for the spooky season yet, but I want to recommend some of my favorites that I think you might enjoy. And that is Garfield's Ghost Stories. Also Garfield's Scary Tales. One of my very favorite books is The Widow's Broom by Chris Van Allsburg. It's beautiful. It's a lot of fun. Then The Night of the Gargoyles by Eve Bunting. Beautiful illustrations. Diane Good's Book of Scary Stories and Songs. Another book with fantastic illustrations. And then one of my other favorites is The Spider and the Fly by Tony DiTillerzizi. I know I'm not pronouncing that correctly, but anyway, terrific book. But yeah, that is what I am planning for Hallowtween. I know that I'll be reading some other books as well, but at least this will get me started. Another new readathon that's taking place in October is Spooky Scary Skeleton Halloween Readathon, created and hosted by Nicole at Nicole's Bookish Nook. She is hosting it along with some other fantastic booktubers. She has 8 prompts that will work really well with everything that I'm going to be reading during October, but there's some fiction and nonfiction prompts as well as some classic and contemporary prompts. So I know that whatever I'm reading, I'm going to be able to check off some of those prompts for her readathon. The last readathon that I'm participating in is Victober. This will be my 2nd year participating in this readathon. It is hosted by Katie at Books and Things, Kate at Kate Howe, Marissa at Blatantly Bookish, and Roz at Scallydandling About the Books. Now there are 4 challenges. Each host has a challenge, and there's also a group challenge this year in honor of Jenny and Alice, who both are booktubers that passed away this year. Jenny loved reading books by Wilkie Collins, and Alice really liked Sherlock Holmes stories by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. So there's also a group read. It is called The Doctor's Wife by Mary Elizabeth Braddon, and it's going to take place at the beginning of, or the first half of October. I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to read the group read this year. It all depends on if I can find a copy of the book. I tried looking for one at the Friends of the Library store when I went last with no success. And I'm trying to avoid buying it if possible. So if I can find an ebook, which is not my preference, or if I can find a copy at the library or somewhere else, I will go ahead and participate in the group read because it sounds like a good story. But the books that I would like to get to in the month of October for Victober, I have Armadale by Wilkie Collins. And this book is also on my 24 books for 2024. So I would really like to get to this. In fact, I probably will start this one first if I don't participate in the group read. And then I have chosen The Hound of the Baskervilles by author Conan Doyle. If I can't get to this book, even though it's short, Armadale's kind of long, I will read the short story, The Adventures of the Speckled Band by Doyle, and that will fulfill the group challenge in honor of Alice. And then last, I would like to read The Turn of the Screw by Henry James. It's one of the stories in this collection that I have. I have seen 2 movie adaptations based on The Turn of the Screw, and I've also just recently watched The Haunting of Bly Manor, which is a series on Netflix that was created and directed by Mike Flanagan. So I would love to finally read the short story that all of these screen adaptations are based on. So those are my plans for Victober. Now, I do have 2 book club reads. I have no idea what the Cozy Cottage book club is going to choose for October. They haven't announced it yet. But for my own book club, the Bookworm Club that I host with Alex at Frank Fiction, we are reading for September and October Boys in the Valley by Philip Fracassi. We are having a live discussion of this book on Thursday, October the 24th at 7 p.m. Central Time on my channel. So I hope that anyone who has read the book or wants to read the book will join us for that discussion. And then the last book that I'm planning on reading in October that I know of, on my list anyway, is Horror Store by Grady Hendrix. This is for the FOMO Book Club hosted by Gemma and Jack. And this is also for September and October. And I'm very thrilled to read this because it's another book by Grady Hendrix that I can say that I've read. I've enjoyed the last 2 that I read by him. And this one just looks fantastic. It's like an IKEA catalog. But I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So that's everything that I'm planning for October as far as reading goes. I will have more, books that I'm going to add to my TBR as time goes on, because remember, I am mood reading. As far as activities, I do have some activities that I want to get to in October. And I forgot to mention that in September, I'm attending an author illustrator event at the Friends of the Library, at Andrew's Library in Baton Rouge. I've attended a couple of these over the years, but this year it's Jerry Pallotta, and I'm very excited to go on Friday, September the 27th, as long as there's no bad weather, because there is another disturbance out there, and who knows what's going to happen with that. But I'm going to go on that Friday for a couple of hours, because he talks about his writing, how he got started, and I find all of that very interesting. So very looking forward to that one. Now, as far as October goes, I haven't made definite plans or not, but the Columbia Theater is hosting a War of the Worlds radio show that's going to be live on stage on October the 4th. I think that would be a great event to attend, but I'm not quite sure if I'll be in town for that. I might be visiting my dad that weekend. Not sure if I'll be visiting him Friday and Saturday, or just Saturday, I guess is what I should say. As far as other activities that I have on my calendar, October the 12th is my Fall Fun Day with Kelsi. We have some activities that we want to do together, and we are also planning to see Terrifier 3 in the theaters in the evening time. I know, we are crazy, and we have just gone down this Terrifier rabbit hole thanks to my friend Ray, who introduced us to this whole Terrifier franchise. But Art the Clown is truly terrifying, and I would not recommend seeing Terrifier unless you don't mind extreme horror and a very, very off-putting clown, because he's a mime clown, not just a regular clown. Then on October the 13th, which is the next day, a Sunday, my hubby and I are going to go to Gonzales to the community theater there and see my friend Taylor as Mary Shelley in Frankenstein. I'm very excited to see that play on the stage. And then on October 19th, my husband's plant is hosting Trunk or Treat. So we're planning to do that again this year. We had a great time last year. They had music and food, and then the kids could trunk or treat. Very fun. And then, of course, on October the 31st, I will be celebrating Halloween. And now that I don't have kids to take trick-or-treating, I will be at home handing out candy as long as the weather is good. So I really love doing that. But those are the activities that I plan on getting up to in October. Of course, I may add some other ones, and we have all of those activity prompts for Halloween-A-Thon. So I'll be doing some of those kind of activities at home as well. November is not going to be anywhere near as busy as October. And I know that I'm participating in at least one readathon, and that is Nonfiction November, which is hosted by Olive at A Book Olive. She has not officially announced the prompts for Nonfiction November, but that's okay because I have 4 books already picked out that I would love to get to in November because all 4 books are on my 24 books for 2024 list. But 2 of the books are a priority, and I will read them first. And if I don't get to the other 2, then they just go back on my book card. But the first book is also part of my Agatha Christie 2.0 project, and that is the memoir, Come Tell Me How You Live, an archaeological memoir by Agatha Christie Mallowan. And then the other one is How to Be Perfect, the Correct Answer to Every Moral Question by Michael Shore. He is the creator of The Good Place. He was a writer on The Office, and he also played Mose on The Office. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Both of those books are not super long, so I do think I have a good chance of finishing both of them in November. The third book is All Creatures Great and Small by James Herriot. This is also another memoir, but it is chunky. We were supposed to read this, or I was supposed to read it with the Cozy Cottage Book Club a couple of summers ago and didn't get to it. And then the last one is Atlas of the Heart, Mapping Meaningful Connection in the Language of Human Experience by Brené Brown. This one, it has a little more dense content, and I know it will take me longer to read this one. So it might be one that I start in November and then maybe finish in December, or I might just wait and save it for next year, and see what happens. But I'd like to get to this one because this one and the Michael Shore book were both gifts from my friend Simon. So it'd be nice if I could actually get to them and then tell them how much I liked them or whatever. I mean, I guess if I didn't like it, I wouldn't tell them. But anyway, I do have some book club picks in November and December. Alex and I have chosen Devolution by Max Brooks. Looking forward to reading this because it was on my TBR for Folklore February and I didn't get to it. And then the FOMO book club, they've chosen for November and December Cloud Cuckoo Land by Anthony Doerr. Now both Devolution and Cloud Cuckoo Land will not be discussed in November. It'll probably be, I know for a fact Devolution will be December. Not sure when FOMO will have their book discussion. It'll be either December or early January. And then the Middle Grade March book club, they've chosen Simon Sort of Says by Erin Bow for their quarterly book selection. And their meeting is going to be in November. I think it's around the 13th or the 15th, something like that. So I still need to get a copy of that book as well as Cloud Cuckoo Land. And I'm not sure again about the Cozy Cottage Book Club. Another readathon that generally takes place in November, at least the last 2 years that I participated in, was the Moore Montgomery Challenge. I haven't heard anything yet from the host, which is Elizabeth of Lizzie Faye Loves Books and Mitzi at Mitzi Reads and Writes. But if they decide they're not going to do the Moore Montgomery Challenge, I think I'm still going to go ahead and read the next book in the Anne of Green Gables series, and that is Anne in the Windy Poplars, I believe. It's the 4th book in the Anne series. So I will probably read that regardless if the Moore Montgomery Challenge happens or not. I'm hoping that they'll have it because I've enjoyed it the last 2 years. But that's everything I'm planning on reading. Now, as far as activities, of course, I want to participate in Thanksgiving, and I will enjoy that holiday with my family. I'll also have the week off from school, so it'll be nice to have some downtime. But also, they are having the stage performance of Clue at the Columbia Theater here in Hammond, and I would love to go see that because one of my castmates from the murder mystery dinner theater I did in September is going to be in it, Lewis, and I love to see him perform, and I love the movie Clue with Tim Curry, so I think that would be a good time. But that's everything that I'm looking forward to doing and reading in the month of November. Well, friends, those are my autumn plans. I am looking forward to cooler weather, plenty of spooky reads, and some festive fall activities. I have put all of the links of the readathons that I'm participating in the description box below in case you're interested in checking any of them out. And I've also included links to the channels of the amazing people that I mentioned today. What about you? What are your plans for the fall and the spooky season? Let me know in the comments below. As always, thank you so much for stopping by. I really appreciate you watching. And until our paths cross again, stay amazing and be adventurous. And happy fall, y'all!